67th episode of CloudFocus Wiki for the first week of November 2011. This episode is titled Cloudy at Last. CloudFocus Wiki is sponsored by Arkus, Cloud Computing Experts. I'm your host, Jason Allen, and joining me, co-host, for now, for 67 times, it's Justin. Justin, how you doing?
It scares me every time you say that. You okay? That wasn't me.
I have a little frog in my throat.
Okay, that was you. You asked me how I was feeling, and then you cough up a frog.
I did right onto my keyboard.
Right on demand.
Didn't happen.
As a service.
It's a frog as a service.
Yes. Fast, they call that.
Yeah, we have a great little agenda today. We're going to talk about... we have a new blog post, which we always talk about. This time about Android, about Salesforce on Android.
That's right.
And your options. Atlassian, makers of a couple different products, finally goes cloud, and we'll talk about that. Probably get into a discussion about another topic, which we've already planned out, so we won't even talk about it now. And then finally, a little bit of news from Amazon and Amazon Kindle, which I threw onto the agenda today.
I see that.
Which I was all excited about, and then I wasn't so excited about.
Oh, well, you're going to have to tell me about this one, because I haven't read up on it.
So we will discuss that. But let's kick it off with first things first, which is the newest blog post on blog.arkusinc.com. Oh, sorry. Finally, we will finish with the CloudFocus App Picks of the week.
Yes.
I know everybody's like, whatever. And I'm sure this week you thought about it for the
researched
week.
it.
You researched it.
So hard.
And then you wrote it out. And
yes.
At least this one I know you've actually used.
I use it all the time.
Right.
All right, anyway, let's get into the blog post.
Yeah.
Newest post on blog.arkusinc.com. This week, Roger wrote a blog about Salesforce on Android, options and opinions. And the reason why Roger wrote this is
no one else uses Android.
No one else in this office uses Android.
Nope.
He's the only one on an Android phone. We all have iPhones.
Yep.
So we know the Salesforce mobile apps on the iPhone. But we don't know them on the Android. So Roger was excited that Salesforce.com for Android was released in beta last week and got the opportunity to download it, play with it, and wrote up his opinions and some options for if you're an Android user, how do you access Salesforce?
Right.
So
really comparing Salesforce for Android and then Seismic CRM, which was released at Dreamforce.
Right.
So there are different options. Don't get too deep into it because there's a blog post about it.
And we've never used them.
But
he goes into, the pros and cons of both. We told him, you got to go play with these things a little bit. And he did. He played with both of them. And he came up with the opinions around both of them. You can find them both on the Android marketplace by searching for their names. Obviously, if you search for Salesforce, I'm sure you'll find both of them. He had some criticisms of both things that, were definitely things that we saw early in the iOS platform, particularly in the mobile light, like the inability to edit things, the inability to get to custom objects.
So there's a bunch of stuff. I would more want to talk about sort of Salesforce's mobile strategy now. We've talked about Salesforce Touch. We know it's coming sometime in the future. I don't know.
It almost makes no sense to me that they would even release Salesforce for Android beta. Like, why were they even working on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's clear that they haven't put any time into the iOS app in over a year. We know that they're working on Touch. We know that Touch is the future. And then that Seismic goes and builds one for Android. Why would you even put any time into it?
I bet that Salesforce, and we don't know anything, but we know stuff. But we don't know anything about this. But my bet is that Salesforce paid for the development of that Seismic CRM app on Android to prove out their streaming API, to prove out some of the other API calls that are being used to make that application work, so that they could show it like, hey, look, this is a platform. You can build apps. Salesforce be the back end. You can build any sort of connector or front end to it. And I would almost guarantee that Seismic didn't necessarily invest their own dollars into it, certainly their own time. They built it, but I have to imagine that this was one of those proof of concept type of things that they needed to show it on stage at Dreamforce. Hey, we have all these new APIs, streaming API, database.com, the connections, the real time, the this, the that, the other. And I feel like that's why that exists.
Well, Seismic has been a company that's already done work with Salesforce. With Chatter and building into their Seismic desktop, their sort of social desktop, which I've used a couple times. I've looked at them. I've seen it on the iPad.
I've used it a number of times.
I don't go to it. It's not my go-to.
Yeah, it's not my go-to either. I just use the Twitter app. Correct. I mean, it's nice to have all your conversations in one place. Your Facebook, your Chatter, your Twitter, but in all reality, they are different things, and I don't need them in the same place.
Right.
So, but again, you're right. So they have worked with Salesforce in the past.
I'm sure there was a mutual thing here. I assume that they're both the Seismic one is free. There's no pay.
No, I mean, you're paying for your Salesforce license. Obviously, you can't use the app without Salesforce.
What does Seismic get out of it?
I'm telling you, they got paid to do it.
So they got paid.
Well, they might not have gotten paid, but they did it with funding from Salesforce, so it didn't cost them a dime outside of people.
Maybe.
I'm telling you, that had to have been the case.
It's also getting Seismic front and center in front of one of the world's biggest tech conferences in the world.
That's why they did it.
Yeah, so
there you go.
It's possible.
They were paid. They weren't paid. They were funded to do the project, and then they got to show it on stage at Dreamforce in front of however many hundreds of thousands of people that were watching online / there
PR, the whole thing. Yeah. Anyway, read the blog post, blog.arkusinc.com. Next up is kind of an interesting one. It's a blast from the past, from our past, from the company that shall not be named. It's Atlassian, which is a company that has been making a lot of products. I think they're known for, probably the two biggest ones they're known for are their Wiki product and their service ticketing product.
They're known for Jira, which is the tickets, bug tracking for developers, and Confluence, which is the Wiki platform. They have a ton of other stuff. Like Grasshopper, I think, is one of them. They have identity management, a whole slew of products, but really known for the slew of various different products. They are known for their Wiki and Jira, the bug tracker.
Right.
And for years, they've had a hosted option. As a matter of fact, the two companies that I previously worked at both had instances of Confluence.
2 out of the last 3 companies you've worked for have had Atlassian Confluence.
One was on-premise, and the other was hosted. We all know that hosted is not necessarily cloud. It's hosted. It's on your dedicated server with your dedicated version of that software running. You're responsible for upgrading it. You're responsible for making sure that you have enough bandwidth or on that server. Like at the last company, we needed to increase our usage of hardware.
Once you got there, I'm sure you blew out the
Wiki. Once I got there, I blew that Wiki out. No, it's a great product. I love Confluence. I really enjoyed using the Wiki as a collaborative tool, and it had some nice things where it's a wiki. It has a homepage and it has context.
Tell for those who, because Wiki isn't really. I would say wikis are kind of going down the history tubes at this point. They're not as known as they were. Why don't you explain what a wiki is?
I still think they're phenomenal. They are sort of organically grown web sites or pages connected to a centralized portal that allow end users to edit them really, really simply. WYSIWYG editors for web pages. So
known best for Wikipedia, which is
exactly
collaborative encyclopedia.
Right. It has comment threads. It has really the main thing is anyone with the ability to edit a Microsoft Word document can edit a web page, hit save.
Right.
And add new pages. You add a new page, it links back to the old page, things of that nature. And it organically grows, and it's nice. It's nice for knowledge capture. So at previous 2 companies, we used the wiki to capture knowledge, take notes.
Not Salesforce knowledge.
No, not Salesforce knowledge. Just institutional knowledge, like a knowledge base.
Right.
But it had the ability to put context around it because it's a web page. So you can write things and then have links to other things like a web page. It's not just like a knowledge article that doesn't have a whole lot of contextual value to it.
And really known best for what makes a wiki different than, let's say, a web page is that a web page you basically had to have either tools, or you used to have tools, or you had to know the language Franco of web pages, which was HTML. Wiki had its own little language on top, which is...
I got really good at wiki markup. I really started knowing wiki markup. Very simple. Like really dumb. If I knew it, it's dumb simple. But it allowed anybody to just spin off these pages and link them to other pages, and all of a sudden you have this organic intranet that has all this knowledge and stuff in it that's self-maintained by the team or teams that are using them. Anyway, we come full circle here because Atlassian has announced an on-demand model. They have taken Confluence and they've taken Jira and put them up into the cloud. So, and I think they've done it with a couple of their other products too. Greenhopper, which is an agile project management software, and Bonfire, which I'm not really sure what it is.
It's a place to sit around and make s'mores.
Maybe. Their pricing is $10 a user a month for your first 10 users. I don't know what it is after that. If you subscribe for an annual subscription, you're getting your first 2 months free, which is pretty neat. And you get 24/7 support with this. And I've actually found that Atlassian support's really good. In working with them in the past. They're actually really good. So, I thought this was interesting. This is a product that we've come across a number of times. They have integrations into other products that are cloud-based, like Salesforce. Jira and Salesforce sort of connect with each other. Like Google Apps, you can use your Google Apps login to log into a Confluence instance and edit, pull in Google Docs or spreadsheets into a wiki page, edit it inline in there, and then, hit save and commit those saves back to the Google Doc, and it also displays on the wiki page. Zendesk, which we know is a ticketing system, and one of my favorites actually is Glyphy, which was a plugin to Confluence that allowed you to do a lot of Visio diagramming, but now in the cloud. Save it on a wiki page, it versions it, other things about wiki, right? They have versions, so you can always, every time you hit save, creates a new version of that page. You can always go back to the previous version, things like that.
And there's some levels of security. I would say wikis have wikis had a big moment there. I think they were one of those things that they were almost too technical and too kind of tabula rasa. It's like, you can do anything. Oh, really? Unless you had someone who was sort of leading you down the path, like you did probably at the one company, and sort of saying, here's how you can do it. Here's all the examples. And then making it like Benioff says, if it's not in Salesforce, it doesn't exist. Well, I know the way to make those things successful is say, if it's not in the wiki, then it doesn't exist. And so when you're talking about documentation or talking about anything, it's like, that's where it is, and you just make people go to it. Interesting, it came up in our conversation because, as we know, we've talked about Google Wave at least once a podcast, and Google Wave is going away. They announced it last...
Never.
They announced it last...
It's never going
July
away.
Or something. Or just
as long as we keep mentioning it, it's not going anywhere.
I think it's like Tinkerbell, as long as you keep clapping or smiling or something. Anyway, so we have been passively looking for a replacement.
Once in a while, we have a Google Wave that talks about the Google Wave replacement, and we throw something on there, and when I saw that Atlassian was going cloud, I threw it out there like, hey, should we potentially look at this? And we came up with a couple of reasons why we still can't give up Google Wave and why a wiki wouldn't actually replace Google Wave. And the main reason, our biggest thing, was the real-time ability to see someone else writing inside the Wave as you're doing it. So if you're on a phone call, you can write something quick in the Wave to the other person who's on the phone call and say, hey, ask them this, or did you remember that? It also has good inline comment threading, presence. You can both be editing the same Wave at the same time. None of these things
exist in
the
wikis.
Confluence wiki handles very well.
It does more versioning.
I mean, the Google Sites, or page, I think it's called Sites, was a wiki that they purchased. Confluence is a powerful wiki. MediaWiki is the one that Wikipedia is on. So I mean, I don't think any of these platforms. I don't think any of these platforms have the ability that Google Wave has.
Right, which is that real, and we've actually started to list off our top reasons, and what is it that makes it so interesting, and clearly there's two things that we look at. One, I think we can replace. The other one's looking tougher and tougher to replace. The views are really nice. That you can kind of like, in a Google Wave, you can move things around. You can put two waves side by side. You can put three waves up on top of each other. You can put a list of waves on one side and the wave you're working in, and that just becomes very natural. And shows you which ones have been updated and all sort of stuff. Then the real time. The real time is really everything, because that's what makes it interesting, is that I'm sitting there, I'm taking notes, I'm doing something, and if someone needs a question, they can pop in and I can see them typing, and we can just, what's nice is like it's in context. Let's have the conversation right where it is. Maybe that's not even where the conversation belongs, but it can start there, and we can just go, what is that? And we did it in the Google Wave today. It's like you started talking about it, and I went under, and I talked, and I was typing. We were kind of typing basically replies to each other in line and reading it in like a little mini chat. But then we left it there in context of the entire conversation.
Right, so that the other people can go back and see that conversation happening,
right,
and look at it.
And for us, it happened in real time. It's almost like having a chat, taking that chat, and then copying and pasting it into the thing that we had the chat about.
Right. So what was that back in the day when we were looking at all these things? Persistent chat. Do you remember that? Persistent chat? Yes. It was like a big group chat that would persist over time.
Right. So
this is still a little different.
Yeah.
Google Wave. Google messed up here because they have a beautiful thing here.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. And they really messed up because I think they went too technical with it. Because as it is right now, they stopped a year ago.
It's still one of the best products.
And it's still awesome.
Still cannot be reproduced.
And they were going down the wrong path. They were like, you can do plugins.
Right.
And you could do bots that can scrape it and add things. No. It doesn't need any of that. Trust us. We're the users who are actually using Google Wave. I think there's 8 of us left
on the planet.
And we're 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
It works how it works, and it works really well. You didn't need all this plugin stuff. You didn't need all this. It's a developer tool. No, it's not. It's a communication tool.
I think their big one was it's the new generation of email. That's where I think they went off.
If they just said to do that.
If they said it's the new generation of notes, everyone would have gone
collaborative notes,
collaboration.
It kills Evernote. Yeah. It's way better than Evernote.
We've looked at here's the things we've looked at to replace. We've looked at obviously wikis. We've looked at sites. We've looked at Chatter and Chatter Now.
Right.
Lots of problems with that. Again, real time's a big one.
We looked at Evernote.
We've looked at Wave in a Box, which is an open source thing. Really buggy. I mean, I love what they're doing, but it's God, is it buggy? I mean, it just crashes constantly. And
we looked at Evernote, didn't we?
We looked at Evernote. So we looked at all these things, and then the thing that we know that they've done is taken some of that real time. Is we know that real time is that important to us, and they have pulled real time into Google Docs now. So I went and I said, "Here, follow me." I said, "Follow me from the Wave into the Docs," and I showed you, again, because we've done real time collaboration in a Google Doc, and showed you how real time. And they have a lot of the stuff that you need. They have again real-time presence. They have people who are viewing. You can watch. They have conversations and commenting.
Right. They have the chat.
They have the chat, which is kind of the chat that stays on the side of the doc. Then they have the commenting that kind of can be commented inline, but it's not. I actually kind of like the commenting because it doesn't get in the way of the content.
The commenting is nice because it stays off to the side, but if you have a lot of comments, it starts to smush.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. That was like a Jersey.
I was about to say
that didn't. It's
like
not
you
what
and Snooki did that weekend.
No. It doesn't line up where it should be. Sort of. It's weird. It puts a little highlight mark in the middle of the content, like a yellow highlighter. Yep. You click that, and then it shows you the comment that's.
And you also see it on the bottom. You can see the full conversation. There's a whole thing.
You can mark them resolved, which is kind of nice because then they go away. It has email notifications like the Wave had.
And you can reply.
Hopefully, I would just love if they just took Wave and plopped it into Google Docs
I think they've done
with
most
the
of
formatting that Docs has, and the ease of use that the Wave has.
Right.
And I just wish they would just.
I think that if Google Wave went away tomorrow and we moved over to Google Docs,
if Google Wave disappeared tomorrow, I'd be very upset because we'd be losing a lot of content.
We'd lose a lot of content. Well, the other thing is that moving stuff from Google Wave into Google Docs is a natural transition, and there's tools to do it. So anyway, that's our Google Docs, Google Wave thing. If you have anything out there that hit us up on Twitter. Jason M. Atwood or Just Edelstein, we'd love to know what your Google Wave replacement is, or your real-time collaborative. And again, real-time in a, you can actually see what other people are typing, not in a, click send, because that's not as real-time. And the last thing was just a little piece of news that popped up today. There's actually one other piece of news that popped up that I'm not going to mention because I didn't have enough time to get into it. But it follows on a story that we talked about with the Kindle Fire. So the Kindle Fire is coming out, I think, in now, 10 days or so. I actually canceled my order for the Kindle Fire.
You did?
Yes.
You said you were going to.
I was thinking about it, blah, 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 blah.
You said you were going to cancel it.
Yeah, so I did. Although now...
iPhone 4S, you want that.
Yeah, but now...
Uh-oh.
They might get me back.
Are they going to rope you back in just when you thought you were out?
Just when they thought I was out. Because now they're doing rental books or a library for Kindle and / Prime members. So Amazon Prime is for
you're
people.
A Prime member, right?
So Amazon Prime, you pay like $70 a year, and then you get like 2-day free shipping on anything you buy.
That's the only advantage, or are you going to give me another advantage right
now?
Yeah,
they have all the content. There's tons and tons of stuff.
Okay.
Like all that content that I was going to get free on the Kindle Fire and all that stuff. But now they're saying now you can rent up to 1 book a month or get a 1 book month for free on your Kindle. And I was all like, yeah, Kindle, I'm in for my book a month. That'll be great. Because that's basically
Can you get that in your Kindle app on your iPad?
No. Kindle device.
Oh, that's kind of lame.
I didn't like it. So that's why I got all excited because I was like, oh, I'm a Prime. I pay Prime.
I pay you. Give me stuff.
I have Kindle on my... And in fact, I have multiple books, including what could have been one of our picks of the week, but I haven't read it yet, which is the Steve Jobs book.
That can't be a pick, by the way.
Why?
You can't pick a book as an app.
Why?
You can't.
CloudFocus,
I just told you can't.
Book of the week.
No.
A Book of the Week club.
No.
I just did it.
You can talk about it in part of the agenda.
Well, let's talk about when I read it. But anyway, it's on my Kindle with a lot of books to read. But I love it. I love I can just walk out the door. Problem is I end up playing what was I playing on the way? Infinity Blade on the way in. But anyway.
So what's the deal? Are you not getting your Kindle
So now
Fire?
I'm kind of like, well, ooh, because the other thing is I gotta find out about other people in my Amazon Prime group. The nice thing about Amazon Prime is you can have an Amazon Prime and then you add people in. So I can have like my wife is on Amazon Prime with me. I think some other family member. You can have up to 5 people. So
why am I not on this?
You might be. I don't know. Maybe you are. Anyway, I just want to know if the Kindle app thing works for them, because then the wife is on it, and then she actually reads so many books that it might even be worth it just for me to buy her a Kindle so she could get 12 books a year at $10 a book. That's 120 books that she's not going to buy on her Kindle.
Is this a limited library of rental books, or is this everything. Every book in their entire library?
Yeah. So
that actually seems like a really good deal. Is it just for a year? Is it forever?
Well, it's until they decide to undo this.
Just like actually seems like a good deal, because if you do read a book a month, that is $120 a minimum. You're sort of paying for the Kindle right there.
And the Kindles are $79.
Yeah.
Plus Prime,
but
which
you
is $79.
Want the Fire, which is $200.
Right,
not just a Kindle.
So maybe I'm back to getting the Fire. Although we are in the holiday season, and we have a rule in our family that between basically November and the end of December, between now and Kwanzaa, that you cannot buy things for yourself.
Oh, really?
Well, because it becomes like, December 15th, I show up with the newest thing, and I'm like, look, I just bought myself the newest thing, and my wife's like, really?
I was going to get
it for her, or had got it because
that's a good rule. Good rule.
Yes, it didn't stop me from buying the brand new colored cover.
Why'd you do that?
Because I wanted the new color.
It looks exactly the same as the old color.
Nope.
It's a shade darker.
And I wanted it.
So they came out with a different shade of iPad 2 smart cover.
Yep.
And you bought it because it's literally a different color.
Yeah. Have you ever bought a pair of pants because they're different color?
I thought you were a man.
No, I didn't like it. I think it looked too light. I didn't like how it looked light. I wanted a dark one.
So what'd you do with the old one?
It's sitting in my house as a backup.
Okay.
Alrighty. So
you can use it as like a little coaster.
Maybe. It was also getting a little dirty.
A little placemat.
And it was getting a little beat up.
Maybe your daughter could just throw it around the apartment. Maybe your dog could just use it as a little wee pad.
A wee pad.
Yeah.
It's a $39 magnetized
It's capital W, lowercase I, capital P, A, D. Wee pad.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Speaking of wee pads, what's your CloudFocus App Pick of the Week?
My CloudFocus App Pick of the Week is not very cloudy. It's just an app, and it's an app on my Mac. For those
Can you
of us,
download it from the App Store at least?
I'm not sure.
Oh wow!
It's an app called PDF Pen by a company called Smile. It is it's a little expensive, not really.
I think it's very expensive.
It's $59.95.
That's a lot of
These
money.
are the people who make Text Expander.
It's going to make my pick seem cheap.
It is. Now I have a real use for this product because what this allows you to do is edit PDFs. So you can open up a PDF in PDF Pen and do all sorts of stuff to the PDF. You can change text.
Yep.
You can do find and replaces on text. You can add page numbers. You can add logos, pictures, images, move stuff around. It's quite the tool for those of us who have to do a lot of documentation and use templates.
Documents.
You can sign documents with it, right? Making corrections like spelling errors. Like, you do the thing in the Word doc, you print it to a PDF, you go to deliver the PDF, you read it one last time, you're like, I misspelled their name. You just hop right into PDF Pen and change it.
Basically, back in the day, this is what you'd have Adobe Acrobat.
Yeah, you can fill out forms with this
for,
thing. You can fill out forms, right? You get a fillable form, a non-fillable form as a PDF.
You can now fill it out.
You can fill it out.
Nice.
So, I love PDF Pen. I use it all the time.
You do use it all the time.
That's why I picked it. But it is
$59.95.
$59.95.
We bought the
We did. We bought.
So I have a version.
You have a version of it. We bought the actual Pro because I was using it so much, and we
bought the group version.
Yeah, we bought the group,
but not Pro. We bought group, not Pro.
Right, group, not Pro.
Right. So that means we get.
You can download a free trial.
Yeah.
They also have a 90-day money-back guarantee. So if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you.
So just if you're on the cheap, Preview, which comes with the Mac, obviously you have to own a Mac, so you're not cheap if you own a Mac, but Preview actually has an ability to both capture signatures and then attach signatures and sign things.
Pretty neat.
So Preview can do, if you're just looking to sign PDFs, Preview can do that out of the box for free.
You basically hold up your signature to your camera, your eyesight, and hit a button.
My eyesight's just fine, thank you.
You're welcome. And it actually throws that signature into a PDF.
And then it saves it so you can then put it on other ones.
Right.
Pretty cool. Anyway, all right, so mine's going to be quick. This is one of those ones that I have in my list. This is something that I use every day for the last whatever. Believe it or not, there's actually pieces of software that you cannot run on a Mac. One of them we have to use a lot. So I have been using Parallels, Parallels Desktop, and Parallels Desktop actually just did a upgrade, I think about 3-4 weeks ago, to Parallels 7.
What version am I on?
You're on 6.
Are you sure?
Unless you just upgraded.
I'm going to open mine and see what version I'm on.
Yeah. So Parallels, it is a virtualization software. So it takes, basically you can run multiple versions of different OS's operating systems on your, you're on 7.
I'm on 7.
Why are you doing gang signs
Just
with me?
letting you know I'm on 7. So there, I already did this.
So and what's really nice about it is, again, you can run Windows XP, Windows 7, Windows 98. You can run multiple, so you can have different instances.
Yep.
It works flawlessly. You can have it go in a window. You can have actually the app go and sit in the dock, just like a Mac OS 10 dock. It is.
I have a folder in my dock called my Parallels applications,
right.
So I can just hop into that folder and just open up, Internet Explorer from right there. I don't have to actually.
You can suspend it, so you can come back to it. It does all sorts of great things. But basically, if you want to test things, for those of you who are Salesforce people, if you want to test Outlook synchronization, if you want to test things on the Macs, on the PC side, it's a great thing. I know there's two of them. There's another one called VMware, and I know they battle back and forth. I landed on this one because it came in some bundle deal. Yeah. So I'm like, the bundle deal was $39 for 10 pieces of software, and this is $79, so it was a no-brainer.
And for those of you Mac users out there who are saying, I have Boot Camp for free, that's the route I went at first.
Even though I told you not to.
I said, I have Boot Camp for free. I have Windows 7. I installed Windows 7 on my Boot Camp and realized kind of quickly that it's a productivity drain to have to reboot your machine every time you want to hop in and out of an environment. Parallels allows you to, without rebooting your machine, just hop right into Windows. And if you've already done a bootcamp instance, like I did before getting Parallels, you could just point Parallels to that bootcamp instance, and it will use that as your instance of Windows, which is really nice.
Or is it the exact same instance?
It's the exact same instance.
So if you go into Parallels, save a document, go back into Bootcamp, it's still there.
It's there. It's the same instance.
Smart. I wish they could do it the other way, because although why do I need to boot in Bootcamp?
But I have our Jungle Disk workspace on the Windows side. So any document I save on the Windows side, I save in Jungle Disk, which ends up on the Mac anyway.
Right. So, all right. So
that's
Parallels,
the cloud, baby.
Parallels 7 for the Mac, $79 or $49 if you upgrade from 6. Again, that is a completely worth it for the amount that it actually does.
We gave some software today. And for dollars.
For dollars.
Lots of dollars. Lots of jelly beans.
Lots of jelly beans. Now you're mixing your signals. All right, so remember to go to blog.arkusinc.com and subscribe to the RSS feed there. Remember to follow Arkus Inc., Jason M. Atwood, and Just Edelstein on the Twitter.
Don't confuse people.
Go to facebook.com and go /Arkus Inc., and you can comment on the posts we post, the blog posts. We do that all there. You can also comment them on the blog. So if you go to the blog post, you'll see at the bottom there's a discuss commenting. We're getting more people commenting. It's great. You can actually sign in with your Twitter account and do all sorts of neat stuff. Do that. Subscribe to CloudFocus Weekly in iTunes. You click, you subscribe, then every time we do it, no matter when we do it, if we don't do it, well, if we don't do it, you don't get it, but it'll come flowing down to your iTunes. And now with over-the-air syncing, it'll then sync over to your iOS device, so you won't even have to connect up your iPad or iPhone to do it. And that's it for this week. Until next week, as we always say here in Cloudy headquarters, New York City, Times Square, from the heart of Times Square. Enjoy those cloudy days.